On this episode of Buff's Garage, I just picked up a new ride home, but we have a problem. This is a 1992 Buick Roadmaster Wagon. And quite frankly, I've always wanted one because they have the cool glass bubble top on the roof there. And this one's a pretty good specimen. It's got a good running engine. Interior isn't completely destroyed, although it's pretty rough. And it came to me free from my buddy Shawn. Now, the rules of this are, I'm going to drive it home to Oklahoma, but he gets to use it for Poverty Tour coming up in June. That's the Pole Barn Garage Poverty Tour that's going to go from Joplin, Missouri, across the U.S., somewhat on Route 66 for the 100th anniversary. And then after that, I intend on purchasing it from Shawn if there's anything of the car left. But let's be clear, I've got to drive it 800 miles home, and I mean, right now it's stuck in the mud because we've had a week's worth of rain and snow that just sunk the car right where it sits. I didn't try to drive it there. It just literally sunk because all the weight's in the front. So now I got to get it out of the mud, do some routine maintenance to it to make sure it can make the drive, and then I guess try to get this thing home. 800 miles starts now.
Runs just fine. No problem. Good old wagon just backs right up with no issues. We'll just park it on a little solid ground until it's time to go. Yeah, that's cool. I guess we just can't let it sit for too long before we have to, jump start it. So I want to check into that along the way. But how cool is this headliner? And the dash? Pretty great. I think this will get me home 800 miles. So as you can see, we are up bright and early, about to leave PBG West, headed back east. Beautiful sunshine. But the tires on the old ranch wagon here are a little low. This one was down to 5. That one was down to 10. Not sure what's going on. But we'll throw some air in it and see what happens. I did some preliminary work, just kind of looking under the hood. We had an issue with it starting once. So I went through, checked the battery terminals, and sure enough, the little side post terminals, one was rusted. So I popped it out, put a new one in. We've been good to go ever since. Thankfully, I'm not replacing a battery. Sight unseen, completely untested. 800 miles, here we go. It's hard to tell, but it's acting like it's running out of gas, even though that doesn't seem logical. But it absolutely could be. Should have a gas station up here in a minute, so let's see if we can get to it. Well, I limped it to a gas station just up the mountain. Not sure exactly if this is the problem or something else. Might be the fuel pump going out, might be a clog in the system somewhere. I don't really know, but the fuel gauge says 3/4 of a tank, but it really hasn't moved much other than when I hit the lights one time, it went all the way upside down. So we're gonna see if it's fuel related. We can hopefully that's all I have to do. Otherwise, I'm going to be working on this car in the middle of nowhere by myself. It'll be fun. It's not the best sign that that tank is a 22-gallon tank, and I just put almost 18 in it, and it was surging like that. So either something's wrong, the sock fell off. I mean, I was going up the mountain at the time, but still, you'd think that it wouldn't be that big of an issue when I'm so close to empty, but not quite. So we're just gonna chug along and see what happens. Oh, and add to that, the fuel gauge does not work. It just pretends like it works. So that's fun. One more vehicle, fuel gauge doesn't work. Well, I'm up in the mountains now, about 7,000-ish feet, and made it about 35 miles from the gas station. And I want to make sure that the car is running fine with no issues. So yeah, you see the number, getting about 25 to 28 miles per gallon-ish, because I had to really pump it to get any more in. So we're going to say it's in the high 20s, and for a small block Chevy, that's pretty good. So check the fluids, get back on the road. So a few things I've noticed that don't work. No speedometer, so that means no cruise. Gonna have to check that brake light to see if that's part of the problem. I know somehow the cruise is tied into that. I don't think that's the speedometer issue. Also, the gas gauge we know doesn't work. And there's a bulb out somewhere on the passenger side that does not allow me to have a turn signal. My assumption is it's not completing the circuit somehow. So I need to dig into that. So lots of little things I want to kind of fix. Oh, no blower motor. So this has the auto climate control set up. However, no blower motor. So you can set it at a temp, but no matter how much you turn up that fan, there's no air movement. So it's not been an issue on this trip because it's been fine. But here we are headed home, and it might be cold or it might be hot. I don't know. We got lots of windows to roll down, but as we go along, I'll keep showing you cool little features about the car, and maybe by the end of this trip, I'll have most of it fixed. I don't know. if I make it. Made it into Roswell, New Mexico. It's not that far from PBG West, but with the issues that I was having trying to go through the mountains, it seems to have resolved itself, but I need to make sure. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop, top off with fuel, check a few things, and then maybe if I can find some parts, piece some of these things back together, see if I can't get some stuff working again. I've got to get a turn signal going. It's bothering me that I can't make a right turn signal. I mean, I have an arm. I don't really need to get a ticket today if I can help it. Add in that I look down and I can't really see how fast I'm going. That does bother me. And can't use the cruise. I assume for the same reason. Something's not hooked up. I'm using my phone as a speedometer, and at one point I looked down, it was doing 80 something, and I was like, wow, this car just cruises, like does not care at all. And as much as I want to get home, I really don't need to be going that fast. That's not that urgent. So yeah, just take a look at a few things and see what we can find out. Well, first things first, let's go ahead and tear into this. Well, I ran inside to grab a few things. Needed some tools to take the dash apart the rest of the way, and you know, some luxury items, some comfort things for the way home. Well, I started to get the dash apart and then realized I was taking it apart incorrectly. But also, there's nothing to really mess with here. So I could keep tearing it apart, but at this point I need to check down at the transmission to see if that sensor is even hooked up. And if it is hooked up, then it might be bad. And if it is bad, well, I am at O'Reilly's, so maybe I can find one. In the meantime, I need to figure out which bulb is out on this thing so that I can have a turn signal again. So that one's just bright. And that one does nothing. So let's try those. Okay. Yep, nothing works there. But then I noticed over here, we've got a problem. Let's investigate that. There seems to be a lack of wiring hooked up here. So we need to figure out what goes where to get things hooked back up to maybe have some working lights. Here's a wire not hooked up. Here's orange. Here's a wire not hooked up. Well, this turned out to be a bigger mess than I really want to deal with, but here we are. So we got lots of wires that are broken and or chewed. Just lots of little problems here. I guess since I'm here at O'Reilly's and I've opened this can of worms, let's go get some tools and some parts and try to fix it. So the O'Reilly's Fix-It kit here. We're gonna see if we can put some of these back together. Well, while I'm looking, that's probably why our speedometer doesn't work. Wish this car wasn't so darn low. I'd get under there and take a good look at it. Yeah, that's definitely something important. Somebody might have jumped this once or twice. Well, after all that, all I ended up getting was a parking light and a turn signal to work. I really wanted to try to figure out that speedometer, but I'm gonna have to put it up on jack stands to get there, and I don't even have the jack other than what's already in the car. I could do it, but my guess is if that's messed up, something else is. So I'll try to work on that maybe later or when I get home. Oh, by the way, if you have hood struts that are failing, get yourself one of these. You can get these at some auto supply places, but even Harbor Freight, if you're allowed back at Harbor Freight. But it's handy. Just lift up on what you're trying to move, and then it just clamps right on there. All right, that's as good as I can do for now. I do want to run it through the car wash, but then 650 miles to go. It's gonna be a long day. Well, I don't see any, hands-on car washes, so let's take her through the automatic, see what happens. Well, it wasn't the best wash in the world, but it did get most of the desert dust off. We got a little bit of residual here. That'll be a good reminder when we get home of the time we spent in the desert. Went ahead and threw in some floor mats because we didn't have any. So these guys will be riding the Poverty Tour in style. Oh, I almost forgot. We have no blower motor, so even if the AC worked, it's not going to cool down in there. So windows open in the front, windows open in the back. That'll get a nice cross breeze going through and hopefully cool the car down. All right, like I said before, 650 miles. And a Pink Floyd tape is the only thing in here for entertainment. So, wish me luck. Well, I stopped here in Clovis, New Mexico, to visit the King of Burgers and check on the car. And so far, it's doing fine. Fuel mileage is around 28. Not unhappy with that. And speedometer still doesn't work, but I'd like to stop somewhere and play with that, which is going to make me really late getting home. But I think it'll be worth it because if the speedometer works, there's a chance the cruise might work. And yes, I know on these cars, the cruise control runs through the brake light. I understand that, but I don't know. Should I do it here? Let me go find a parts store. We'll go from there. Well, you guys know I travel a lot, and that brings me to the sponsor of today's video, NordVPN. While I'm traveling, I want to be able to access the regular websites and subscriptions that I normally have access to, but sometimes when you're not in your home location, those can be restricted. And what's a VPN? It's a virtual private network. If you didn't know, your phone, your laptop, your computer, your browser, they all track your location and what you're doing and where you're shopping and all the other activity that you're doing online. But with a VPN, it creates a different access point for you to access the internet. A VPN protects your online privacy and gives you full access to the internet that you may not always enjoy depending on where you're at. And with NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro, it makes you safer online with just one click. And you can get NordVPN plus 4 months extra at nordvpn.com/buffsgarage. That's nordvpn.com/buffsgarage. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Make sure to get your 4 months extra at nordvpn.com/buffsgarage. Happy surfing! And thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to the video. And just like that, I have a slightly safer way to crawl underneath the car without it falling on me. And try to fix that speedometer wiring because it's a mess. And I at least really want to know how fast I'm going because I'm just afraid I'm going to end up getting a speeding ticket. This car just cruises. It's nice and smooth and fast. So I guess I'll crawl under there and try to fix it. Oh, it's still tight under here. I'll have to come in from a different angle. All right, I tried the curb trick, and I can kind of get under there, but I can't do any work, and I sure as heck can't find the other end of the wiring coming off the vehicle speed sensor. I'm losing sun already, so I think what I'm going to do is go find a better jack, maybe some jack stands, a place to stay for the night, get this thing up off the earth, and dig around and find those wires and maybe put them back. If I can get them back and get the cruise and the speedometer and all that working, man, this car will be ready for poverty tour. And of course, the rest of my drive home. So I could have just cannonballed all the way home and made it happen. But I do want to make this car better for Shawn on poverty tour. I want it to be a comfortable drive. I don't want them to have to worry about it, except for the, other problems that may pop up, but making improvements along the way. So I guess I need to find a place to stop and get a jack and jack stands and maybe call it a night. Well, I went to the store that we won't be showing here, but they had this jack half off because it was in an open box, and I inspected it and everything worked. So yay for 4-ton jack for half the price. So let's go find a place to park and fix this car. All right, got the car up off the ground. I'm trying to find where these are supposed to go. These all have homes. Found them. They're over here on the passenger side. They've definitely been ripped apart. Now I got to figure out how to lengthen them or get them to the other side. I think I'm gonna have to lengthen them on this side and then toss them over. It's gonna be challenging, especially when this thing is hot. Well, for 2 hours I've laid under here and ran wires from the other side of the transmission to this one at a time so that I didn't get them mixed up. Finally done. That is a dirty, nasty job. Well, the speedometer doesn't work still. So all that work for nothing. Well, I'm filthy. There's a pretty great likelihood that there's something else that's been chewed through or ripped out, or maybe I messed up one of the wires. I mean, there were 2 purple ones. I can always try to switch them. I'm tired and I'm filthy, so I'm gonna go get cleaned up, take a little nap, and try this again tomorrow. And I don't consider it a waste of time because all the wires were ripped out and now they're not. There's probably another issue, but we'll dig into it tomorrow. Good morning. Kind of cold without a working heater. But here we are in Clovis, New Mexico. I really shouldn't have stayed the night and tried to fix the speedometer. It is what it is. I mean, it needed fixed at some point, and it's now wired, so it's probably the sensor. It could be any number of a couple things. I did check the fuses. Overall, it felt like a little bit of a waste because I could have been home last night, but it's all right. I did the work. I'm going to order that vehicle speed sensor and hopefully get it in sometime in the next day or so and put that in and see if that fixes it. My whole goal here is to help them have a speedometer and maybe cruise control, because poverty tour is a long drive and it's worth it. It's a beautiful drive. It's a lot of fun, but it'd be a lot more fun with cruise control. There's a few other parts I'd like to order for this just so that they have a more comfortable vehicle. Figure out the blower motor issue. Could be the motor, could be a resistor in there. Something isn't right, and I'm going to try to fix that too. In the meantime, enjoy the driving montage.
weather doesn't look so great as I'm headed to the east, and I just got a forecast update that there's a possible tornado coming, you know, thunderstorm with tornadoes tonight or tomorrow. So yay, we're coming back to the Midwest instead of the desert. The desert has its issues too, but man, I'm not looking forward to all the moisture and the rain, but it'll be good to be home.
Made a stop in Hereford, Texas, where it always just smells like, well, a cow. And car's doing great. Just wanted to get a little bit of breakfast king and then back on the road. I got about 480 miles left, and this car is just loving the highway. So back at it.
Driving through the night, trying to keep my eyes open. The generator's busted and the AC's broken. I'm talking to the Lord, hope He helps us get there safe. And we made it to the show, now we're singing to the crowd. We're playing encore and they're screaming real loud. Try to get home early, but I know that ain't the case. Yeah, it's another hotel room, sleeping on the floor. I'm hurting in the morning from the night before. Pay my dues, I'm eating, love the road. I'm coming home, baby, leave the porch light on. Breakfast in the morning from 7 to 9, but we just can't seem to wake up in time. Grab a cup of coffee and we're off to hit the road. Now we're running on fumes, no time to kill. We got one more show and it's a shitty door deal. Breaking my back just to make a couple more. Yeah, it's another hotel room, sleeping on the floor. I'm hurting in the morning from the night before. Pay my dues, I'm eating, love the road. I'm coming home, baby, leave the porch light on. Yeah, it's another hotel room, sleeping on the floor. I'm hurting in the morning from the night before. Pay my dues, I'm eating, love the road. I'm coming home, baby, leave the porch light on. Yeah, it's another hotel room, sleeping on the floor. I'm hurting in the morning from the night before. Pay my dues, I'm eating, love the road. I'm coming home, baby, leave the porch light on.
Well, made it to Shamrock, Texas. This is one of my favorite stops along the way. Couple of reasons. Number one, even if I don't need gas, I always like to stop here just because it is the threshold from Oklahoma to Texas. And there's a cool gas station just down the road that I always like to take a picture at. Okay, just put in about 177 miles from Clovis, New Mexico to Shamrock. And let's see what kind of mileage we're getting. So we're down to less than 20 miles per gallon, about 18 and a half, but I've also been doing some highway speed the whole way. So we'll just say, yeah, it cost a little fuel mileage, but it was worth it. And of course, I'm talking about the Shamrock Conoco Tower. How beautiful it is with a Buick sitting in it. Yeah, I always like to stop here and get this photo on my way east or west in whatever pile I'm driving at the time. Car looks pretty good there. All right, with that done, 350 miles home. Let's get it. Just cruising through Oklahoma, trying to get home. Got about 65 miles to Oklahoma City. Everything seems to be going fine, so we're just going to keep the hammer down. Rolling into Oklahoma City, and as you can see, the traffic is not great. It is stop and go traffic. You'd think it's the middle of the day and the middle of the week and people should be at work so I can drive home. But once we get to the other side of Oklahoma City, it'll be smooth sailing. But it's a lot warmer here in the Midwest than when I left. My goal was to skip winter, and I kind of feel like it worked, other than that brief moment in the desert. But now here we are in the Midwest, and it ain't bad, let's just say that. Pulling off at the Chandler service station exit here, and it's basically the service station that's connected to the turnpike, so you don't technically have to get off the turnpike just to get gas, bathroom, all that. I really don't need fuel, but I figured I might as well grab some just to get me home. I got about another 2 hours until I get there. So I also thought, it is getting warmer, which is awesome. I'm glad it's getting warmer. So we need to open the little vent windows in the back, because little warm inside the ranch wagon. Airflow engaged. Well, still averaging 25 plus miles per gallon. I assume it's dropping because I'm doing highway speed this whole way. But man, this sucker's taking it, and I am very impressed. So now it's about 138 miles, it says, to get home. About 2 hours. Let's hit it. I've now driven the bulk of my trip, almost 800 miles, in this car that literally, I believe he paid $600 for it. I was willing to pay $1,000 for it after, you know, all the special treatments that he did. Really, no major mechanical work done. A little bit of electrical because of rats and maybe jumping a railroad track or two, got the wiring caught down below. But here's the thing, this particular car wasn't very expensive. Some of these really nice examples do get up there in price. But it's a V8 car. You could tow a small trailer with it. You can haul the whole family, haul all your stuff. Heck, you can throw car parts and tools in the back. Whatever you want to do with this thing, it's better than a truck, better than an SUV, cheaper, and it has driven flawlessly at 80 miles an hour all the way across the country. People think you got to have a car payment. People think you got to buy the latest and greatest, the newest thing. You don't got to do that. Just get yourself an old car, spend a little time making sure it's reliable, and hit the road. This is why I love doing what I do here at Buff's Garage. Truly have no idea what's going on. It's been doing just fine. I know I'm not low on fuel. I mean, it just felt like I had no power, like basically like it ran out of gas, but I know that's not the issue. I hope that's not the issue. But we're back up to highway speed again, so we'll just keep on limping. We got 7.6 miles to my exit, and then we're just like 15-20 minutes from the house, so let's just see if we can get it there. I'm going to go ahead and take this exit and take the back way to the house. Should be the quickest way, plus if I start having issues when I get off of the turnpike, there's no Riley's just right down the road. So well, no repeat of the weird almost dying and then backfiring. Also notice the grass here is just as brown as it is in the desert. Small world. This poor car spent so much time out west that now that we're in a humid environment, it's literally rusting in front of my eyes. Like I can hear the rust building up immediately. But hey, we're almost home, about a mile away. Well, there you have it. 800 miles in a fairly unknown 1992 Buick Roadmaster Estate Wagon that I got from my buddy Shawn. We're going to go through this thing and do some maintenance. We're going to look into some stuff and try to get this as roadworthy as possible to make it comfortable, smooth, and without issue for him on Poverty Tour coming up in June. So until then, that's a good parts getting rigged. But I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure to hit up the merch. Now that I'm home, all merch orders are going to go out within about a week. So feel free to fill up my inbox with orders. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching Buff's Garage. We'll catch you next time.